AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Bar Rescue After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Bar Rescue After Show.
Welcome, everybody. Bing is for doing. We're here doing Season 3, Episode 6 of Bar Rescue. I'm told this episode is called Jon T Don't Like It. I don't know. I feel like that's the default episode title for any show that hasn't quite had an episode named.
But actually, on my DVR, it actually was Jon T. He Don't Like It.
This is the first. This is not the first time I have seen that on the DVR.
Okay, that's why I thought I had redone it and didn't do this episode. Was because I thought I had saw it before.
Yeah, so but that's what I'm told the episode is as of now. I am your host, Phil Svitek, joined alongside Dorinda Barker.
Hi, everybody.
Unfortunately, no Kevin Undergaro tonight, no Chris Lee Kennedy, and no Ron Hoffman. But we're gonna have fun anyway.
Yeah, no, it's a good episode.
Let's get started. Let's start with just overall impressions. For me, I enjoyed the episode, but it wasn't as fun as the other ones, only because the owner was a normal guy who followed directions quite well and did what he was supposed to, and it wasn't necessarily the greatest TV, but I congratulate him because he was so normal.
Yeah, he was so normal, and he was endearing, and that's what I really loved about him. He looked like a gentle giant to me. That's what he reminded me of, because he was so tall and, broad, and yet he was just so quiet yet nice. I liked him. I really felt for him.
I did too. Let's talk about the recon, because never have we seen a recon that went for 15 to almost 20 minutes.
Oh my G. Okay, so by the way, what I love about this season that they're doing a lot is they're taking people, like regular people, and they're having them go in the recon. So we had Rochelle, Kira, and Lamont go in. And I loved it. Loved, loved, loved. They go in. It's a $5 cover. No one's in there. I already had a problem with that, because why are you charging $5 if there's nobody in there? You want everybody in there that can come in, right?
So you're saying it should just be free?
At that point, I think it should have been free, because there's nobody in there. He's already losing $8,000 a month. Mm-hmm. And I understand that you're trying to get, you're trying to make the money up, and that's probably why he's charging at the door. But you can make your money up in other ways. And I just to go into that place, even looking at the signage alone, I wouldn't want to go into that place.
Now, John obviously had his thing, where the branding clashed.
Yes.
What was that your problem with it too, or were you looking at it from a different standpoint?
Well, first of all, it is a bar in a strip mall. And then there's sometimes where it's a lounge and it's supposed to be upscale, but it didn't look upscale at all. There was nothing inviting when you were walking up to the place that made you want to go in. Nothing. Even the sign itself looked old. It looked like it was something out of the 80s or the 70s. That's the way I felt. Mm-hmm. And it was called Casbah, but yet there was a guy playing a saxophone on there.
Yeah, that was John's beef with the sign, and yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but I didn't see the saxophone part until he pointed it out. I thought it was like a cornucopia or flowers. Like, I wasn't sure what it was.
Like, it's like the cash bar. Get your flowers, get your roses,
exactly.
Got a Valentine's Day coming up.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking.
Okay. Well, hey, maybe you can buy flowers in there. I don't know. My problem with it, and I always wonder with shooting, right? I kind of what I see, every time I introduce this show to people that are within the bar and restaurant industry, they say, it's too light in there. And I think partly that has to do with production.
Yeah, well, that is, I mean, we were told last season that is actually what it is. It is because of production, because they can't turn the lights down because then you won't see what's really going on.
Yeah.
So they do have to turn the lights up, and that's something that you have to give so you can actually see what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it just, you know, I don't go to many nightclubs, and if I would be terrible at describing what appeals to me about a nightclub. But it's supposed to look fun, and nothing there looked fun, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what, you know, that was just my kind of impression.
Well, you know, also, when we looked at what do we see? He was looking at video.
Yes.
And even guys were saying the customer service is bad. When do you see a guy in a bar say customer service is bad? Because really, they're going into a bar to get a drink, and that's all they want. Yeah. Hardly ever do you ever hear that. So I thought that was interesting. And then the guys were talking about fights. So that's number 2. And then they walk into the place. So there's 2 girls and a guy. They walk into the place. People are dressed in T-shirts and hats backwards. And their guy is wearing a knit cap that says drugs. At one point, you'd think it says thugs, but it actually says drugs.
And, you know, I sometimes hate when they make a rule of you know, collared shirts and stuff like that, because I always get, you know, I'm like, dang, I don't have a collared shirt, but, like, the shirt doesn't look bad or whatever. Yeah. But, you know, now I kind of, what's nice is I really see why they do that.
Well, yeah, and it's the thing. Well, if you don't have a collared shirt, then just throw a sport jacket on top of what you're wearing, and that just dresses it up, too. I get where they were saying, because there were some white T-shirts, and I know at some point Angel was saying that has something to do with gangs, and there was just so much going on.
Yeah.
In that whole recon.
Well, let's also talk about, okay, the drink service, the food service, and then security. I like that these guys, they don't just necessarily go in, they kind of test the waters, and you know, they're not testing the waters, you know, trying to be as mean as possible, of like looking for every you know, speck of dust, but they're just like, okay, let's have a drink, and it comes back bad.
Oh, well, the girl Rochelle orders a sea breeze. The waitress comes back with 2 appletinis, and I don't know what the other drink was. That was Lamont's drink. She comes back, she goes, oh, we don't have sea breeze. Here you go. So didn't even come back to ask if they wanted anything else. Just gave them a drink that she thought they would like. And then on top of it, the drink was bad. Even Lamont, who tasted it, was like, ugh, this is awful.
Is it possible to do that and just say, hey, we don't have sea breeze. Here's a drink I thought you might like, but also, you know, in case you don't, is there a drink, you know, can I make you something else? Would that be a proper, I don't know, I'm just asking.
The only time I would do something like that was like, we don't have a sea breeze, but here's something like, and it's on the house, don't worry about it, I'm so sorry about that. If you don't like that, I'll get you something else. Okay, you could do something like that, but to do what
just give it to her.
Here you go. Yeah. And then not come back to the point that they had to get up and go sit at the bar.
Yeah. And then obviously holding it by the top, you know.
Oh, yeah. I was kind of, because in a place like that, and I'm not trying, in any place that we see on Bar Rescue, that place was not clean. So you don't know what if the place isn't clean, the servers probably aren't as clean as they probably should be. So them holding the martini glass, instead of holding it on the stem, just holding it on the cocktail glass part of itself, was gross. Was to me, because I was like, oh my God, her fingerprints are there, and she's going to put her mouth on that. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, that was just not good.
And you know, for that, I could see where you take offense to that. Yes. I'm more of a guy, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. You know, and obviously I see why it's bad, but for me, again, I can kind of, as a guy and a patron, can ultimately overlook that. But just the kitchen. That was the most ridiculous. Did you get it to go? No, I said no.
Okay, all right. Let's even before we even go there, real quick. We'll even keep the drinks going real quick. Okay. So they go to the bar because no one's come up to them. They go to the bartender, Cece. I kept all the names. I had to write everything down because there were so many names in this. I loved it though. I loved all their names. They go to her. They say, our drinks are not good. She pours. She goes, sure, I'll fix them. As she's walking away, she says, crazy bee, like, you crazy bitch. I was like, what? I can't believe why Jon Taffer never said anything when he was telling everybody. That was kind of, I thought he might have. But then as she goes to fix it, she doesn't fix it. She just puts it back in a shaker and shakes it and gives it back to them. I was like, are you kidding me? You could have at least put maybe a little bit more sour in there, or whatever you put in your apple martinis, because people make them differently. I could not get over it. I was livid. We were watching it. All of us were like, I cannot believe she just did that. I cannot believe she just did that. And then they order food.
And then they order. Well, you know, while we're on the drink, my thing is also too, I get, you know, I could see if you're, you know, if you're dealing with customers, and yes, I could see where you get angry if you're like, you know, can I have a little bit spicier, or like, can I have a little, whatever, you know what I mean? And I'm more talking about food, because that's, you know, I'm not as versed with drinks and the knowledge of them, but like, you know, if someone says, hey, can I have just a little bit of mayo and no pickles and this and that, then it's like, oh, can you just order a burger? You know, I would get it from that standpoint, but, you know, when you... to call someone a biatch just because they ordered a standard, what supposedly
it wasn't even the drink she ordered.
That's
it wasn't
good
even
point.
the drink she ordered.
That's even a better point. Oh my God, yes. So there you go. There you go. That trumps everything.
Yeah, she calls her that on a drink she didn't even order.
Oh my gosh.
And this is how it starts.
And you know, I mean, okay, so in terms of the food, you know, the clubs I've seen, it comes on very small plates. Again, it looks I mean, this was they called it fast food. It was fast food. What the hell? Okay, no, what are you thinking? Like, what are you going to be dancing with your little to-go bag? Like, hey, honey, like, can I pick you up? You want to dance? Maybe have some chicken? What the hell was why? And I get it. It stemmed from laziness, but really?
But here's the best part about it. People are just standing around, not doing anything. They order. She gives them their ticket and says, go to the window and pick it up. Go to the window, give them the ticket, and you can pick up your food. I have never, ever, if you're supposed to be in a club, in a lounge, ever seen anything like that. And I've, like I said, been doing this and drinking for a long time now. Never seen anything like this.
Okay, you might find this funny, but is it just because where does one get a notion like that? I mean, the only time I've really seen where you kind of just go up and get your own food is obviously at a low rent place, or Chubby's from Boy Meets World.
Exactly.
That's the only kind of you know, place that I've seen that.
God,
I'd like to point out that's 2 Boy Meets World references you've used in the past 2 days.
There you go. I had to. It's been on my mind, Martin. It's been on my mind.
Oh, Ben, we love you.
Ben Savage, yes. But yeah.
Yes. So and then they open it up and there's so much food. And it's all fried. And even the girls were looking at like, what am I going to do with all this food?
Yeah.
And then they pan across, everybody is eating out of these styrofoam to-go boxes.
I mean, yeah, you know, we talked about this when we talked about bottle service in an episode of last season. And with bottle service, you're paying for an experience.
Yes.
A nightclub, to me, you know, it doesn't have to be expensive, but it's still a different experience than, you know, let's say you go to a restaurant or a regular bar. And the experience there, you want to have fun. You want to be moving around.
Yes.
With that, there's no movement. And that's not the type of experience, like a to-go bag, that's not the experience. The experience is supposed to be like, you bring me my drink, I'm looking around, I'm scouting for girls, I'm trying to talk to girls, or I'm dancing, whatever it may be, if, you know, from the perspective of a guy. That's the atmosphere. If I want to have a little food, like I get a little hungry, yeah, give me a little something to snack on or whatever, but like I can go back to it back and forth without having to worry that it's going to get cold or something like that, you know, or whatever.
Or you're going to eat the whole thing. You're going to be full, and then you're not going to want to do those things like walk around, dance, enjoy yourself, mingle, because you know how you feel when you like eat like a big meal. Yeah. You're like, bleh.
Yeah, this was like KFC. Like, I mean, no offense to KFC, but like
I do love KFC.
You know, it just goes in your stomach, and then you're like, I'm tired. Let's go home.
Yeah, so now you have that, right? Then Lamont decides to go to the bathroom, and then some other guy walks over to these girls and starts talking to him. They're like, okay, well, you know, and they kindly tell him to leave.
I've never, you know, again, I don't necessarily look at these perspectives, but I've never noticed that, like, okay, as security, you're supposed to have an eye out whenever a guy approaches.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna look next time to see if the security guy looking at me like I'm gonna go for her. Is that cool?
You're like, I'm in. Yeah, well, those guys too, when they came over, were nowhere near, they were near the situation, but we're too busy talking to each other, number one.
Talking about security guys.
The security guys, which was Rob, Superman, and I don't know who the other guy was. He didn't have a name. Well, he did, but not on the episode. And so they're just talking. They're just talking and not paying attention. And the girl calls out, I count it, 4 times, security. Not one security guard came over.
Yeah,
once. And then he's like saying all this stuff. Lamont comes back and he's trying to like diffuse the situation. And this guy's like, what are you guys, what did he say? Are you guys double teaming him or something? He says that to Lamont.
It was bro talk.
It was very bro talk. And then it gets to like where they're standing up and they're about to like fisticuff. Then finally they come over. So you really had to get to that point for them to actually come over and do something, because everyone else was watching them fight. So it wasn't like the whole thing was going on for a few minutes. Everybody in the club, as you could see when they were panning through the club, could see what was going on.
And, you know, just in general, any type of security, any type of, you know, law enforcement, you're supposed to be preemptive. To the point where, like, people, you know, you never want to get to a point where people are annoyed, but to a degree, you're supposed to kind of be like that and just kind of always lurking and seeing, you know, and being suspicious, even if there is no situation, but anticipating a situation.
Yes, exactly. And that's what a bouncer is supposed to do.
Just like, hey, call me when things are ready, and just give me a caller.
While you're sitting on your chair looking at the ladies.
Yeah.
Yep, no, your job, you are getting paid to make sure that everyone in that club is being safe. So the club itself is safe, so nothing happens, so you actually still have a job.
Yeah.
And everyone's enjoying themselves. That's your job.
Could I commend Superman in the worst of ways?
Yes.
The only upside to this whole thing was that he wasn't one of those. He could have been one of those people where he could have been security and walking up to girls anytime they had a guy and like, hey, is this guy bothering you? And like trying to get in with the girls by being that. That would have been the only thing that could have been worse.
Yes, because I feel like he's probably done that before.
I guess he could have. Because that's just an abuse of power. You know what I mean? Where you're just trying to pick up girls because you're a security guard. Whereas this, you're just a lazy person.
Unfortunately. So it leads, in which I find hysterical, because it leads Jon to come in because he feels like now he has to take care of the situation.
Yeah. And hey, Jon passes off any day as security. That man.
Yes. He's huge.
I want to be on Jon's good side.
Oh, never want to be on Jon's bad side. Never, never, ever. I've told him that before. I was like,
you diffused the situation, and you know, you said it best before we kind of started. And what I did love about this episode was that it was tailored to security.
Yes.
And we've never really dealt with that to this extent. I mean, we had the gunfight,
Murder and Mystique. We had that, but it wasn't the way it was in this episode. And I really enjoyed watching this episode because of that reason, because it taught you a lot, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in terms of that, obviously there's a security issue, but the fact that I never realized, like, these people just bring in hordes of alcohol.
I know. I wouldn't even think about doing that. Not even on my poorest day would I ever think about bringing alcohol into a bar.
And it goes to show a few things. The lack of respect customers have for this place.
Yes.
The lack of respect they have for the bartenders, for the fact that they can't even make them a regular drink. So, okay, you know, if I'm going to pay X amount of dollars for whatever drink and it sucks, then why am I going to pay if I could just go down to the liquor store, get me a bottle of what I want to drink, and just, you know, sip on that for the night? And
especially when they know that they can get away with it because security's not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
They're going to let them in anyway and just go do what you got to do. And I couldn't believe it. as a bartender, I was so angry hearing that people were bringing in their own alcohol.
Yeah, it would never even. This is a tough question because obviously you're not there, you wouldn't know. But like, as a bartender, can you tell if people are bringing their own drinks? Like,
Well, you know,
What
to
would
be
you have done if
honest,
you saw it?
people really are not that smart.
Meaning customers or the bartenders?
Well, a little bit of both, but I think people are not that smart. So they get it in. They think they get it in, so they think they've accomplished something. And so a lot of times people then get more brazen and don't hide it very well. They'll just start pouring it in, which I have seen before. And I've had people kicked out of a restaurant or actually a bar. And so, but they'll just start pouring it in themselves. And I'm sure the girls have seen it. And like we saw, there was bottles just laying around, excess bottles laying around.
Yeah.
So it's not something that they didn't know that was going on.
Yeah. I mean, again, it stems from the top, but someone should have just addressed it and been like, you know, and obviously. Anyway. These poor people.
I know. Look at you. Like,
Well, there's just no leadership. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, in terms of Superman and his patting down method, I mean, you know, he's trying. What it seems to be, he's patting down in the method that he feels is most sufficient, but least like obtrusive in the way, you know, for him mentally. We're like, okay, I'm not gonna because if I was a guy, I don't want to. You know, it's an uncomfortable thing to have to do and have to think about, and I wouldn't want to go that close. But you know, obviously, when that's your job, my dude.
Exactly. Exactly, because alcohol is the least of your worries of what they're bringing in there. Because if they're bringing in alcohol, they're bringing in other things. And they talked about that. You know, people could bring in their pistols and guns and drugs and everything else. Well, drugs are easier to hide, actually easier than alcohol to hide. But I was looking at the whole situation going, this guy wasn't, even when they were doing it, nobody was patting him down when they were walking in the beginning. Not at all. They were just letting people in and just letting it go.
Yeah. Are there other methods of kind of securing? I mean, you know, not that they would have to walk through like a metal detector, but are there other methods? Are there other means?
Unfortunately, as was stated in the episode by a lot of people, you have to, for hip hop clubs and stuff like that, there has to be a pat down. You have to search everyone because of people being armed. Yeah. And it really unfortunately does happen. Shootings do happen in nightclubs, and especially this is a nightclub, so they have to do that. So it's either that or get a metal detector and have people walk through it. Yeah. Well, and I think I would rather somebody pat me down than go through a metal detector, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because metal detectors take longer.
They take longer, and it gives a not safe vibe. Yeah. If that makes sense. That gives me a vibe like, oh, there's stuff that's going on there. But if I'm getting pat down, I'm like, okay, I get it. Can
I get the cute guy?
Exactly. I don't mind if Angel would pat me down. I'm okay with that.
All right. Well, let's move on to the stress test, if you will. I mean, again, just the culmination of recon. I was like, what's going to happen in the rest of the episode? We're 20 minutes in.
Well, even before let's talk about the kitchen before the recon.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God.
Let's talk about, yes, the kitchen. Oh, my God. It's up there. Not the nastiest kitchen we've ever seen, but it was nasty. Like when Aaron McCargo walked in with Jon and they're looking at the place, it was nasty. That was another thing we were aghast by. Like when they walked into the walk-in, and he's like, when did you clean this last? He goes, 2 days ago. And then he points and goes, is that 2 days ago?
And it's blood?
And it was blood, and it was just caked on grime. And it was just so gross. Or when they took what is that? The spatula. Yeah, spatula or whatever. Yeah. And the grease, and they pulled the grease off, and it was a square. It was dried so much that they pulled a square of grease off. I don't think I've ever seen that in an episode before. Have you?
I don't know if I've seen that. I mean, the good news is it wasn't the grossest we've ever seen.
No, we've seen gross. We have seen gross.
The bigger tragedy for me was, you know, as is typical of, you know, these places are dirty, and then, you know, okay, you got to clean it up. Great. And the nice part is most of these chefs respond really well.
Yes.
And, you know, this guy was kind of crying, like, you know, I didn't want to let this guy down, our owner, and you know, and he cleaned it up and he did a good job. And I was rooting for him, and then, you know, I don't want to cut to eventually
Later,
what happens, but I was, you know, by the end, I was really disappointed because I was like, okay, this is a cool guy.
He was a cool guy. He had 10 kids.
Yeah.
That was another thing we were shocked about. He says, I have 10 kids. I was like, oh, this guy wants to work. He's a dad. He's got 10 kids he's got to take care of. He feels bad about letting Shelton down. He's going to work. Like, this is like his turnaround. So, and I really thought it was his turnaround because he really was working with Aaron McCargo, and they brought Chino in and everything. And that was great.
Yeah, I mean, you know, same thing with the bartenders. They were just never really taught properly. And, I mean, again, he's so used to put it, as he said, so used to putting that thing in a to-go that there was no presentation with the food.
Because he didn't have to have it. Nobody told him that he had to do it this way. And he didn't take it upon himself because he just didn't know. So you can't blame him for that. And it always starts from the top. With Shelton, I liked him a lot. And I found, like I said to you before, even before you said, he was endearing, and I really liked him and rooted for him. But he let all of this happen. Yeah. It always starts from the top. And he was allowing all of this to happen because he got used to making money, and he stepped back because he thought it was going to be easy because the money before was easy money. I mean, he was making $85,000 a month. That's what it was, $85,000 a month. If I'm making $85,000 a month, I am watching like a hawk what's going on because I don't want to lose that money. But also in the same sense, when you're making that money all the time. You hit
complacency.
Yes. And you think that, oh, it's going to be like this all the time. I don't have to do as much.
Yeah.
Which is sad. Then he goes to losing $8,000 a month. Yeah.
I mean, the sad part is, you know, and again, I don't know if, it seems like I guess it was from luck, but or I don't know how to exactly attribute it, because if you're making that much money, obviously you're doing something right.
Yes.
And so you feel like, okay, if I'm starting to slip and lose money, what was I doing before that was getting me that money?
Exactly. And he said the crowd changed. Well, if the crowd changed, then you change with your crowd, but you still keep it somewhat classy.
But I think, again, why did your crowd, you know, okay, so it could be one of two things. You know, it's either the crowd's changing or you did something to make the crowd change. Okay, maybe it's a little bit both. You know, again, there's questions you ask yourself.
Yeah, and he even said it when Jon came in to talk to him. He said, well, my staff is much younger and they're entitled, basically. That's what he was saying. They're entitled. They don't work as hard as my other staff used to. But at the same time, if you were really managing them,
yeah, I mean, if they were broken in properly,
yes,
then
if they were trained, and they weren't trained, that was the other thing. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I mean, who trained you? I think I trained myself, and then I trained her, and then I trained her, and
then Cece was like, "I feel the servers menaged me," and I was like, "Wow, a new word! I love learning new words," and so I got to learn a new word called menaged. And they asked what it meant. And she said, I felt like I was getting double teamed by them all the time. One person come to me, then the next person, then the next person. And when they were talking about that, the only thing I could think of is, why isn't there a service bartender? Mm-hmm. Why isn't there a service bar? Why don't they have tickets so the bartenders can see the tickets there, make a drink, and do whatever they're doing? I didn't understand that. And then they said they weren't trained at all.
Yeah. And, you know, Jon was trying to get to it. You know, he said, okay, you're restating that same thing. You know, how do you want to fix it?
Yeah, and that's when he said to Cece, don't defend it, fix it.
Yeah.
And then, because that's what Jon is all about. He doesn't like the excuses. He's all about solutions. And because he did talk to his staff, so there's no training. When he talks to the staff, he asked them what the problem is. Pimps, drugs, liquor coming in. Oh, hookers, or I had hoes.
One or the other.
Same thing. So, like, he has all of these things. I was like, wow. I mean, why wouldn't a woman want to come in here? Of course, this is where I want to go, because there's pimps, there's drugs, there's alcohol, and there's hoes all the time. That's where I want to go because I feel safe.
Yeah.
And I was interested to see how this was going to change. How do you change something that has now become this? And that's where I wanted to see what Jon was going to do.
Well, you know, and you know, that's a good segue to the stress test because, you know, from my memory, the stress test was all about security. And that's, again, all of this, you know, again, the bartenders, ultimately easy to train. I mean, they just needed training. Kitchen just kind of needed training. And granted, again, the chef eventually, because it was what it was, but that's all. But the clientele, it stemmed from the fact that, you know, Jon was like, all right, here, you try to get in this bar with this bottle. All right, he got in. All right, now you try. Damn it. Another one got in. Can you try and you put it on your forehead? How about that? Can you get in with the bottle on your forehead?
It was crazy. And they brought in a third specialist that we haven't seen 3 before. And they brought in Doc, who was a security guy. And I loved him. I loved Doc. I thought he was amazing. And he did. He gave him the 3 bottles to see. All 3 got in.
Actually, I will correct you. We've seen, remember when in the Pirates episode?
Oh, yes.
Pirates episode.
30 minutes
Who had 30 minutes in?
30 minutes and 40 seconds. In the Pirates episode, remember when our boy wasn't working out so well, we had another, you know, culinary specialist that, you know, was making the food.
Oh, yes,
and then when our boy left, you know, he was like, all right, you know, you take over, and he did an amazing job, and he got applauded.
Yes, you are right. You're right. All right. Pirates it is.
Pirates.
Then we get through one episode without saying.
Never gonna happen.
It's like a drinking game.
It's never gonna happen. We can't get through an episode without Pirates. All right. But yes, we liked him, and ultimately, okay. So they kind of went over the steps, and they were teaching them, and I forget exactly where. Was this before the stress test that they really kind of went over the methods? Or was this after?
The methods they did after. They did after because they go through the whole...
Oh, yeah, they were just testing them. And clearly, just everyone was getting by.
Exactly. They did show them, like, one move to do, but it was more for the pat down and to see if Rob... Because remember, Superman was like, when he sees me work, he's going to think differently. Jon's going to think differently of me. Well, no, actually, Jon thought the same of you.
If not worse.
Exactly. If not. And... so that all happens, the 3 things, and he goes to Sheldon and he tells him, where is it? I have it highlighted. He goes, this guy is screwing you and you bent over and you took it. And that's exactly what he said. And it's, you have to go and fix this. He's like, you need to fire him. He needs to go. He's hurting your business. That's what's happening. And I was afraid that Sheldon wasn't going to go do it, but he did. And he told him, he's like, you got to go.
Yeah.
And I was proud of him.
I was too, and again, that's why he was such a normal owner that he just followed direction, which you don't usually get.
Actually, Jon told him to get a pair of balls. That's what it was.
Well, he did get a pair of balls.
He did.
And then, you know, again, the nice part after that, a few minor complications, but for the most part, everyone was learning at a good pace. I want to talk about I definitely want to talk about freeze that fight, but beforehand, they were techniques against guys, and I thought that was one of the most interesting things, you know, and that had a science behind it. Yeah,
everything had, which I loved. Everything, and he hired, Angel hired his friend, which I thought was hysterical, Demon. So Angel and Demon are now working the door. Awesome.
Hey, gotta do it.
So they're working the door together, and Doc is now showing them ways to break up fights, which I had no idea, because I've worked in plenty of places where the bouncer would just go and do what these gentlemen did, just grab them from behind and, you know, take them out. Yeah. But he showed a different way by grabbing their arms so they can't turn back and hit them. I was like, well, that's smart. That is so smart. And they're doing it, you know, they were showing, and I really loved it. But then the cat fight.
That was amazing.
What do you do in a cat fight? How do you break a cat fight up?
You freeze that fight.
You freeze that fight. It's a Jon Taffer thing. He came up with it. And you take a frozen towel. If you see a cat fight go on, you take a frozen towel and you put it on the back of one of the girls' necks. And it works because you saw that the girls just stopped. Yeah. They're like, whoa, what's that? And that's the whole thing. You freeze that fight. That's
Jon,
amazing.
with great power comes great responsibility, my friend. I mean,
he is a Jedi.
My God, where did you pull that one? That is brilliant.
And so we talk about that. Then he sits down and talks to Shelton about the bar, about the transactions that went on.
And this is, the science behind this was excellent. In the first hour, it's over 2 drinks, then it's 1.5, then 1.25, right?
Yeah.
And as I'm thinking back on all the times I've been out and seeing, kind of notice what I've noticed, yeah, I would say that's true.
Yeah.
3 hours?
It was awful. They had 500 people, just a little over 500 in there. 489 transactions. So not even one transaction per person, by the way. Not even one transaction.
That's
It was supposed to be
terrible.
2.5. When he broke it even down, they were negative 77%. That's amazing.
That's baffling.
Which leads me for a couple things, and I brought it up in a few of our episodes. I think a lot of it, people bringing alcohol in, number one. Because if there was the 3 guys that were planted on them, there was other people bringing alcohol in. Also, I think that as our bartenders, our lovely bartenders, were probably giving away some stuff. I would like to think.
I mean, I think it's the case in the sense that if you overpour,
Yes.
then okay, then I'm more drunk than I would have been off of, let's say, 1 drink, and then therefore I'm like, ooh, I don't want another drink. I'm hammered as all hell.
Yeah, I don't want to. Exactly. I only want 1 drink if it's an overpour. As I've gotten older, I hate overpours because I want to be able to taste my drink. I want to be able to enjoy my drink. I don't want to be able to drink my drink and every sip I make that pucker sound, that pucker look, because it's never any good.
Yeah, it's true. Unless you're doing a shot, then the pucker look is okay because we just bought the 1 shot.
Well, that's true too. I always make that, except when I'm drinking Jameson.
Okay.
Irish girl can't make that face when you're doing that.
That's funny. Yeah, and so I think that's where it stems from, and I think it's a combination of all these things. And again, it's at the very least 1 customer equals 1.
Yeah, it's just really that simple, and it just wasn't happening for whatever reason, and it was.
I mean,
just
granted,
sad to
you
see.
can have vegans coming in there that might not be drinking alcohol, but that is a very low percentage. You're in the wrong business if you got non-drinkers coming in your bar
No,
to
and
do a
even with
nightclub.
a non-drinker, a lot of them go in, they get bottled water. So that's a transaction right there. Because whenever I go out, I'll get bottled water or I'll get club soda if I'm the designated driver for that night.
Mm-hmm.
So that's still a transaction right there.
Okay.
So that's where I was still I could not believe over 500 people, 489 transactions. It blew my mind away.
I mean, that's pathetic.
It is. It's
That is
just very
absolutely pathetic.
It
really is. All right. Let's get on to the remodel.
Yes,
phase of
let's
this.
do it.
I was excited, and we didn't quite, for me, we didn't get as much of this as I would have hoped for, because initially Jon was criticizing the dance floor and the sound system and stuff like that, and obviously everything was addressed.
Yes.
And he went over everything, but for me, I love the science. Love the science behind everything, and so
Yes.
I would have loved to kind of get into that and the DJ booth and things like that, and how do you really turn this into a nightclub? And I remember in episodes past, they talked about the the beats per minute and how there's a certain amount of time you have to have it slower, and then you bring it.
He did talk about in a dance club, every 3rd song should be a song sung by a woman. Because then it gets in a high.
That was new information.
That was new. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. But every 3rd song should be a song sung by a woman because it gets the women out there and they want to have fun. It's a fast beat. It's not like you're gonna do Celine Dion. My heart's gonna go on or anything like that. But you're
Rihanna remix.
Exactly. Any Rihanna remix will do because I will always dance to one of those. But that's where I was like, oh, I really like that science because I had no idea about it. And then when he did talk about the lights, because the lights were amazing in that place. And they had the lights that would go with the music.
That was cool.
Yes. And I liked it. And I liked that they kept it the Casbah.
Yeah, they just, seldom does he have to, keep the name.
Yes.
But I'm glad he did. And he was like, okay, makes sense and has a history. Let's just change what the hell it looks like.
Yeah, and it made sense. Like, even with the etching on the window, gave it more of a sense. Like, the outside, I loved the outside this particular episode. I thought it looked fantastic. Even with the heat lamps, I love those heat lamps. Those were great. They kind of look like little pyramid-y kind of deals. And I really loved how they did it. And then the purple is royalty. And purple is my favorite color. I was just so drawn to it. And it made you want to go into that place, which I liked, instead of the old Casbah, which it was just bland, and there was some kind of red thing. I don't know if it was a fire extinguisher outside or whatever.
Just in case a fire breaks out.
In case a fire breaks out. But it was so much more inviting, and everyone really seemed to like it. And the girls had new uniforms. I liked the uniforms. I felt like this was a place that they should have classier uniforms. I really liked the tops and the way they dressed. I thought that was great. And then, the servers got POS systems.
Yes, that was... Thank God for that.
I know. And a service bar. Loved it. Elaine Duke called it out. She goes, I can't believe you don't have a service bar. And now they have a service bar.
And I like the idea of the food. We've been kind of skipping over the food and the design of that, but that was brilliant. It's fast food.
Exactly.
But it looks
still
good.
Finger food, and it was in those little martini glasses, so it looked great. It looked classy, even though if it could be a chicken finger, it looked great.
Yeah.
Even the fries, I love that the fries were stacked in there like that. It looked fantastic.
Yeah, and the whole point is because, especially in today's day and age, women go out and what do they want to do? They want to take photos, right?
Yes.
And so just even from that standpoint, let's say I tweet out a photo, hey, I'm here. And in the background, there's in that photo, you just see bland food. You just see a Tupperware container or whatever. You're like, what the hell kind of place is that? And so just even from that standpoint, for marketing, it's terrible. But if you have this nice, the martini and it looks presentable. And in the background, there's all these amazing lights. And it just shows energy. So it's like, wow, I'm going to go to the bar Phil is at.
Yeah, and it looked so great, and I love the bar, how they had the Crown Royal, what was it, the maple shot? The Crown Royal maple, and they did its own perfect shot, and I thought that was fantastic. There was just so many things, and I like the fact that they held up to a dress code.
Yeah.
That was important because that place now warranted a dress code and people look nice. And here's the thing. You dress up, you feel better about yourself. When you feel better about yourself, you feel better being around other people. When you feel better about being around other people, you treat people nicer.
It's that, and also I think for women, they're much more happy. There's a lot of good-looking guys here. Everyone just, it's a shallow thing, but
it's true. I mean, they had the recon team come back when they did the revamp, and they said it was a totally different place, and they liked it so much more that they would come. Even our two servers, Unique and Caprica. That's it, Caprica. They said they would bring their friends in, which I found interesting. I was like, you wouldn't invite your friends before, and you worked there.
A lot of the servers have said that.
Yeah, a lot. They have in these episodes. They really have, haven't they?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to tell my friends that I work here. We've heard that way too many times.
Yeah, and that was even before they even walked into the place that they said they would invite their friends to it.
Yeah.
So that was a huge thing, and I just loved, Shelton once again got emotional, and it just made me fall in love with him because he was such a man, but he just got so emotional because he was like, you are a godsend. This is my dream, and you made this happen for me. And
he did the last step. I wasn't expecting this in the end, but our alcoholic. Dude, I haven't had a drink in I hadn't had a drink in 4 days. Dude, you couldn't wait till just my man. Really, you're that much of an alcoholic? Where this, I understand it's a shooting. You're shooting a reality show that the schedule is intense and you're learning a lot of things. So I mean, forget the fact that you have to learn all these things. That's intense enough. But the fact that you're shooting a show based around that, I get it. It's intense, but ultimately, it's still just 4 days. Things will lighten up, but you will have gained amazing knowledge to make your life ultimately easier.
Yeah, because Jon goes in there to make your life better. He doesn't go in there to berate you. He doesn't go in there to make you feel worse about yourself. He actually is a man who wants everyone to do great for themselves. That's what he wants.
And he will give you the tools to work hard, but work smarter.
Exactly. And this guy couldn't do it for whatever reason. And it just made me sad for him. And then once again, Shelton did step up and take him outside and said, "You got to go, dude. You got to go." And I mean, they were busy.
Yeah.
They were busy. And, you know, pretty much left Chino and Aaron McCargo to, like, get in there and really have to hammer it down because they were.
Sometimes, honestly, sometimes you can do more with less.
Well, yeah,
And clearly that was the case.
Yeah, people don't know what they can do when they're given too much.
Yeah. And sometimes, it's, you know, sometimes when they're given too little, they're all kind of bored. But if you engage them in that sense and they're having fun, you know, whatever amount of hours it ends up being, you know, of working, you're like, oh wow, that went by fast.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes.
Oh yeah, it was a great episode of watching someone redeem themselves, because Shelton even said at one point, "I think they're taking my kindness as a form of weakness."
Yeah, and that happens way too many times.
Yeah.
But speaking to that point, where do we stand now, Dorinda? I love getting your take on these things. You know, I mean, here's the good news. I didn't look it up myself because I just knew this guy was doing well. I mean, I just believed in him, and he was, again, the most normal guy I've seen in a while. But for a more accurate report, I go to you.
Okay, so before Jon came in, they were losing $7,000 to $8,000 a month. 2 months after, they are doing $7,000 to $10,000 a night. So that $130,000 that he is under for, he's going to pay that back. And Jon even told him, "Call me when that is paid back because I will be so happy." And I mean, to go from losing that much money a month to making that much money a night, you really have stepped it up. And he's probably, if he's doing that, probably had to pick himself back up to put himself back at the place to be making that much money a night.
Yeah, and, you know, again, it just, people read off you. And so, you know, if he was an absentee owner, you know, and just left it on auto cruise, then that's what it's going to be, and it was going to continually to go down. But now that, you know, I'm seeing his energy and things like that, and it's, you know, especially in a nightclub, that energy translates to your staff. That energy from the staff translates to the customer.
It always does. Like, even Elaine Duke said it. Smile.
Yeah.
Smile, because the girls
Smile, Lyle.
He actually posted something today about that. He goes, "I kept telling the girls to smile, and they would smile. And all I kept getting was smile, Lyle." But I just felt the girls' attitudes changed when they were making money, and also on top of it, when they were smiling, it really does. You fake it till you make it, as they say. And if you smile, sooner or later, you're going to feel that smile inside. I know that kind of sounds very Pollyanna-ish, but it is true. It is true. The way you think is the way you present yourself. So if you think one way, you're going to get something. But the next day you think a different positive way, people are going to see a different you.
Yeah.
And that's what they got.
I mean, I'm certainly not ordering any drinks from a woman that says, "F you, bit." You know, like, no.
Crazy bitch.
Yeah, really? All right.
But I was surprised there wasn't a fight with that. But, you know, it went through, and I just really, and I'll say it again, and I said it at the beginning of the episode, I love that now they're doing different people and not just Nicole. I do miss Nicole on the show because I love her. But I like that they're bringing in new people.
For the recon.
For the recon, because nobody's going to know whether or not the people coming in now are going to be for recon.
Yeah.
Which is great.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
Let's get into predictions for next episode, because this one looks fun.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV.
This is a California one.
Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah.
What are your thoughts? I mean, it's tough to. I don't know exactly what the nugget is. You know, obviously this was all about security and things like that. You know, with Smile Lyle's episode, it was all about the fake IDs. You know, that was kind of a big focus. But I'm interested. I don't quite know what we're going to be fully fixing in the sense of what's.
Yeah, I don't know with this episode. I do know from what the outside looks like, it actually kind of looks worse than the Casbah. So I'm interested. Do you remember first episode, Renee Renee, the owner of the Rackets. I
Okay,
think
yeah.
It kind of what we're gonna see kind of reminds me of that.
Okay. And why? I mean, I get it, but for the viewers, why?
I feel
What about it?
it's one of those places they just let go, and so with Renee's place, she had let it go, even though she was there all the time. She wasn't there mentally, and I think this is what we're gonna see in this episode.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of times too, you know, to your point about there has to be a certain level of upkeep. Granted, you can
Yes.
make an amazing bar, but then like, you know, it's just regular wear and tear of, let's say, you know, rain, right, on a sign. You know,
Yes.
you might have to paint that up every now and then. You know, not every week, but, you know, maybe once or twice a year, maybe 3, whatever it may be, you know?
Yeah, and I just think
Whatever dictates it.
with a lot of the people we have seen, because we've seen a lot of these places just like this. Even the Canyon Inn. Remember the Canyon Inn
I think so.
with the baseball player?
Yes.
With the like, even their sign was worn down. They let things go because they're not thinking it. So, just like when you see something every day,
Yeah.
you're not seeing the deterioration of it. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with this episode. Jon is no joke, and that's why I love it. And it's here in California. Where exactly, though? That's what I would like to know. Do you know?
Let's see.
Is it anywhere near us?
You keep talking while I keep
Okay.
looking.
So, and if anybody is in the Vegas area, there is the nightclub and bar convention Mr. Jon Taffer is running. There's going to be about 38,000 people there. Him and CeeLo are going to be cutting the ribbon. That should be fun. It's a 3-day event. It goes Tuesday through Thursday. And lots of parties, lots of vendors. If you have your own bar, that's probably a great place for y'all to go to see new tricks, new inventions, new things that would help your bar out.
Okay, so it's called Lona's Warlord Station. It's in Long Beach.
Okay.
I know where that is.
And it got
I do. I know where it is.
Have you been there?
I haven't been there, but I know exactly where that place is.
It's it got rebranded to Lona's City Limits Cantina. I don't know if that's from the show or if they did.
It's kind of in the hood.
Oh, it is?
Kind of in the hood. Okay.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. You know, we definitely have to take a road trip to these places that are near us and just go at least have a drink there and see if they've kept up with what Taffer has left them. That's what I want to do.
All right. Well, you know, we'll see. I mean, we've got some 1-star reviews, so on Yelp, we're looking good. But though, hey, to be fair, those are from far. You know, those are the one I'm looking at specifically is from 2011. So.
Oh, okay. So this is before they got in there.
Yeah. So
Okay.
2000. You know, this is the before Jon Taffer.
Okay, let's see. You know.
On that lovely 1-star note, we hope you give us 5 stars on iTunes.
iTunes.
Go to iTunes, rate and comment. Let us know what you're thinking, how we can improve this show and things like that. And you know what? If you're in the area of some of these bars, let us know your opinion. I'd love to hear if you guys are in Austin, if you guys are in Colorado. I mean, heck, if you're in Long Beach, by all means, wherever. I want to know from you guys. In the meantime, Dorinda, where can our fans follow you or listen to you or whatever it is you want to share with them via social media?
You can actually catch me on Twitter at Lula Cherry Film. So if you want to tell me about any of these places you went to, just Twitter me up and I get back to y'all.
Sounds good. And of course, we're here at AfterBuzz TV. That's Twitter and Instagram, and of course everything else, whether Facebook, our YouTube page, whatever. And so thank you, Martin, in the booth. Thank you, Dorinda, for a wonderful show. Once again, Kevin and Chrisley will be back. Go see Jon Taffer in Vegas this weekend. I think that about covers it. And all I know is Jon T, I hope he's happy.
Yeah,
I hope he liked this episode. He may not like, you know, the cash bar, but I hope he liked this episode. So until next time, thank you.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.